Great. So we are now at another live stream on how to build AI products and how to do agents. Today we have this fantastic topic on why we need the AI cluster. And for that, I'm joined by Sameh Jarour from Apify. Hi, Sameh. How are you?
Hey, Rod, how are you? Great to talk to you again.
Yes, it's fantastic that you could join us because so here we could meet a few weeks ago in London where you were at the MCP summit. And there, so you were mentioning that you are doing so many things about on AI, on MCP, and so on. But the name Apify, so this doesn't sound at first glance, this is like AI. It sounds like you've been around for quite so many years. So why not we start around that? What is Apify?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks, Rod. Yeah, as you said, we've been in the business for around 10 years. But really, I think until recently with the AI revolution, obviously when ChatGPT was launched in 2022, a lot of the use cases that Apify has have become exponentially bigger, right? And the simple reason is it became easier to build workflows and AI agents and LLM tools. And I think the importance of what Apify provides has become exponentially bigger. So maybe I can take you through a quick overview of what Apify is. So we are a store. We have over 7,500 tools right now. These tools are obviously, some of them are web scraping, a lot of automation tools, and the tools themselves traditionally have always been used within workflows, right? Automation workflows. But obviously, with the AI revolution, it became even more important for a lot of these tools to be utilized for agents. The reason is simple. um, Agents require the best data, right? So when you
Mhm.
think about, for example, an agent that wants to give you, let's say, a newsletter, you actually need to maybe scrape data from different sources. Maybe you need data from the web, you need data from LinkedIn, from social media. You bring that data back to the LLM tool or the agent, and you give it the best context. So this is why I think in the last few years we've seen this kind of explosive growth in the usage and the actual customer base at Apify. And so obviously we're working in a lot of uh, different initiatives, and we can talk about specifically the AI vertical or the AI cluster at Apify and what it exactly does.
So you're saying that basically, if we want to build AI, we need so good data. And then, so here, Epify is this catalog of APIs. And how do we get this good data? How do I even know what I can get? So how does it even work? So let's say that I'm trying to build an AI application, AI agent. So let's say it's an AI agent that books my travel and so on. So how does Epify help me there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So actually, the travel agent question is something quite interesting because we did launch an MCP server, and maybe we can dive deeper into what MCP is, which is the Model Context Protocol. But basically, when we talk to agent builders, we always ask them to kind of plan out the use cases. I think maybe it's also good that if I share my screen, maybe give you a kind of a walkthrough about, for example, how to set up a workflow or an agent, and then choosing the right kind of Apify actor that you can use for your agent.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. I'd love to see how it works live.
Yeah, let's do that. So
Yes.
I'm sharing the screen now. Just maybe can confirm you can see it. Yep, it's there.
Yes.
Yeah. So really, when it comes to kind of maybe it would be first good to kind of describe what Apify is. So if you have or if you haven't heard about Apify, basically it's a store. The store itself has over 7,500 tools. And by the way, we have the Apify $1 million challenge that is running now for the community, which means that anybody who develops an actor, there are weekly prizes, first prizes, second prizes, and then weekly prizes for each kind of incremental revenue that you can generate from these actors. So these are actors. A lot of them are built by our community. So we have around 40,000 developers who are building these actors. They build it inside the Apify platform. So actually, one part of Apify is the front-facing actor library, right? So you can, for example, use Google Map Scraper to find the best leads in local businesses. So this
Mhm.
is this is a great tool for lead generation, for example. For example, if you were, let's say, a SaaS business and you were looking for a certain ICP, in this case, let's say you were looking for, consultants or consultancy companies in a certain geographic area. Let's say, Rod, you're calling me from where?
I'm so in London, in the UK.
Ah, nice. Okay. So yeah, I'm looking for consultants in London. There's a lot of granular control about what kind of data that you can get, a lot of search and filters. And also, this feature, which I also love, is that, you can extract actual lead information from these consultant companies. For example, if you want to outreach to people in sales or, marketing. So that's, a great use case for the Google Map scraper. We see a lot of people using it for um, you know big data applications, like finding the best reviews for locations. We use it for finding geographic leads. So that's, one of the kind of use cases that you would have with Apify. And again, there are, 7,000 tools. A lot of them, of course, are actors, so that they scrape data from like TikTok or Facebook or Twitter, what have you. But we also have a section here which houses agents and MCP servers. So that specifically is the part that I'm mainly concerned with, and what the AI vertical at Apify does, right? Is building out these agents. So, for example, this backlink building agent, if you're a company, you know how the importance of backlinks, especially even now in the GEO realities that we live in. So this agent, for example, would find you backlinks in the keywords and the segments that you're actually targeting. Along with that, there is the MCP servers. Maybe I could, obviously, we saw each other in the MCP summit in London. Do you think it's would be worth just to kind of go through what an MCP server is, or?
Yes, because curiously, not everyone knows that. I'm surprised how this is a term that's still very new for most. So if you can show us how does that work MCP with Apify.
Yeah. That's a great question. So, actually, a great entry point to Apify is MCP, and the reason I say that is, it's really, you can use human prompts to find the best actor. When you have 7,500 tools, sometimes it's hard to go and filter uh, through those tools and find out exactly what you need. So with Apify, you can use the MCP. One entry point to the MCP is to actually go to this website. It's called mcp.apify.com. And over here, you can actually customize the server for your use, right? So, for example, if I was looking, let's say, to maybe, say, scrape some Instagram posts, and I want to do like some Facebook posts here, I can just add those actors straight into my own MCP server, right? And just click on Save Changes. Over here, you can add additional tools that you might need, like search actors and call actors. But anyway, the simplicity of this is that you get a URL here, and basically you can use that is your server, right? So in a few clicks, you've created this server, and then you decide where you want to use your server, right? Because the protocol itself, so the model context protocol, is now very widespread. You can use it across Claude, you can use it across OpenAI, for example. Even with the new Atlas browser, you can use the MCP directly inside ChatGPT. So you can choose whatever client that you need to use it. um, so you take this link, for example, and one thing at Apify that we also have is this client. It's just the MCP client over here. You can actually, use the Apify store to actually test your server. So, for example, let me go to the Apify, go to the tester client here. I will put my server URL and I will run the server. So you just save and start, and your server will start now with the actors that you chose. So you can see over here, for example, I have loaded all these actors that I chose, including Facebook here and Instagram here. And this is a great way to like test different actors. I like to do it to kind of test, what are the inputs I need, what are the outputs, what is the cost, right? Because obviously when you're talking about 7,500 tools, there's a lot of differentials when it comes to how the actual actors are priced, right? So for example, I want to scrape the Instagram and Facebook posts of Gentic. Please. I'm gonna go for you, Rod.
Yes,
Please find.
and I really want to see if it's capable of understanding what it is and how it works.
Yeah, I think so. That is the advantage of, let's say, MCP when you look at it as opposed to traditional API calls, because the server itself has a lot of context on how to use the tool. So you can see already here, it's going ahead and calling. It's probably trying to find your accounts on Facebook, trying to find your accounts on Instagram. And so traditionally, like when you had to kind of integrate Apify actors into, let's say, traditional tools, it was a bit more complicated. You had to know, the input JSON schema. You had to kind of obviously do some a bit of coding, right? Or you could have used like low coding tools. Over here, you can see that it's calling these two actors. And actually, if you go to the Apify platform on your backend, you can see it's running now the Instagram scraper. If we go look closely about what it's actually doing, you can click on runs here. It looks like it's crawling now based on the actual human prompt that we give it. So I can just go ahead and see here. Hopefully it got the right. Um, so it looks like this got some photos here. So let's give it a second and see what it comes up with. There's always one thing I really love about Apify is the actual logs, right? Because here you can see exactly what it is actually doing, right? And this is also something that is kind of transferred back into the MCP server. It looks like it's extracting some posts. I don't know, maybe that's a party that you were attending, or so yeah, it's basically doing the scrape right now. And if you go back, once it's done, it will give you the results. And it's a great way to actually test the tools, right? Because after this is done, you can probably ask it, okay, how much did this cost? Based on, let's say, the output that you get, you can decide like, okay, sometimes if the scrape is big like it is right now, it's still running, it might crash. So yeah, that's one use case. And the MCP really has a lot of other use cases, right? So for example, this is something that we did with our friends in with N8N. I mean, N8N, I think, is a tool that a lot of your maybe viewers also use. So in this case,
Yes.
there is a actual MCP server on Apify with Kiwi. I don't know if you've heard of Kiwi.com.
No, I haven't heard of it. So yeah,
Yeah, so it's a great
very new.
travel website. Actually, I was working at Kiwi, like 4 years ago. So there you can think of them as Skyscanner. That is the closest to them. So they have this MCP server, and we worked with them to actually publish it on our side. So you can actually, if you go to mcp.apify.com, for example, you can actually add the Kiwi MCP server here. So it actually does travel bookings. So here, for example, I would generate this MCP URL with the kiwi.com MCP server. So you can see it's over here. And then one use case, of course, is if I want to create a travel agent, right? So maybe I want to have maybe I'm doing a travel website, or I have some kind of travel app. So here I used N8N to create this agent, and I attached it to the MCP server. So for example, you can see here the agent itself. When a chat message is received, you can click here on the agent just to see what's going on here. There's a kind of a system message, right? It tells the agent what it should do. And one important point here regarding the MCP, of course, obviously you need to attach some memory so that it has a thread about what happened before. You attach the LLM chat model that you want to use. I'm using Anthropic here. For MCP, it's always good to use Anthropic, either Sonnet or Haiku. They both work well. But here is the MCP client, right? So this is the actual node that N8N has. And here you can see the endpoint that I used is the actual endpoint that's generated by the apify.mcp.com. So basically now I have this agent and it's attached to an MCP client, which is running one of Apify's MCP servers, which is kiwi.com, right? And really, I built, for example, let me show you this. Actually, I have it on another screen. Let me just, yeah. So what I did here, for example, is I obviously just did a website and I attached the N8N workflow to this server, right? So for example, now I can ask it, I want to find trips. I don't know. Let's say you're in London and I'm in Prague. From London to Prague for next week. Please find me the best flights. And now you can see what it's actually doing is basically running the N8N workflow that I just showed, which is attached to the Apify MCP server. So if we go back here, we can see here under executions, for example. Okay. Maybe it's not attached. Let me see. Okay. It's probably calling on another N8N workflow. Okay. So it's asking me some follow-up questions here. Actually, one thing you can also check, for example, is if I go to my actors here, it's running now. You can see the Kiwi MCP server, which is being triggered by this, application that I built in N8N, and this is kind of the front facing. Okay, so I'll give it some follow-up questions. Is this a one trip? Oh, let's say, okay, round trip. I will say it's me and my girlfriend. All right. I'm trying to save money, so I'll go economy. Well, it's uncertain days, right?
Yes.
Let's say from departure on the 17th and return on the, I don't know, 27th. So yeah, again, it's sending the commands to this N8N workflow, and it's finding the kind of the best flights for me, right? So that's kind of like a quick travel agent that gives you, and this is if anybody is aware of like MCP and what's happening with especially when it comes to e-commerce. So right now, obviously, MCP UI is super popular, right? So the OpenAI agreement with Shopify that was signed a few weeks ago, it's kind of like the big buzz. And actually, we also have other e-commerce use cases here. We have, for example, shopping apps that you can use. So there we go. It found you the best and the fastest flights. What I really like about this is, when you use MCP, there's a lot of context to the actual server. So it finds, based on like, let's say, historical context, what's the best value, what's the fastest flight, other great options that you might have, and of course, some summary and recommendations. So it's really acting like a travel agent, right? And then obviously when you choose the flight, if you can just you have this link, and it's a deep link right inside of kiwi.com where you can actually book the flight. And the use case, it's pretty cool. So the use case, of course, is like you can actually provide this agent as a value add, either to a website, or we're hearing people inside, let's say, procurement departments, where they're booking flights. It's an easy way to kind of populate a Google sheet with all the flight options, right? So you don't have to kind of manually look for flights, but maybe send it, like, especially to bigger companies. So yeah, there is literally thousands, hundreds of thousands of use cases that you can do with Apify. This is just one of them. We have also, for example, another server. It's called Satusma. It's also for e-commerce. So that's sorry, I always get this one here. It's right now only available in the United States, but this is basically a server that allows you to do shopping online, right? So it acts like your shopping assistant. And I think what we're going to be seeing in the next few months, especially in 2026, is like e-commerce is with MCP is going to be a huge use case. So we're also hoping to kind of be a key part of that movement.
And so here quite a few things is, so we saw all these user interface. um, how is it for me to integrate all this in my own application? That would be one question I have. And also, I saw that in the console there was here some usage. It was a few cents, but how does that work? Is that per API call? Do all APIs cost the same, or do they have different
Yeah.
pricing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Well, we're transitioning most of the, like, let's say, actors or MCP servers into the PPE model, right? So right now we have four models. We're trying to deprecate rentals because obviously, it was a legacy model. um, but now with the age of AI, we're trying to get everybody to the pay per event. And what that means is basically you're paying for kind of each individual event that happens, right? So an event, for example, for the MCP would be a tool call, right?
Yes.
And it's a really good model because it allows you to really customize your cost. So instead of like renting, let's say, an actor for the month, or even you paying per usage, it doesn't really allow you to give you visibility about how much it would cost. But I think with paper event, it's much better in terms of transparency. Obviously, here in the Apify store, you can also filter out by which pricing model you want. So, for example, this is the paper event, and these are the actors that are within that. This is lead generation actor, for example, quite popular lead gen as a use case. I would say it's one of our top use cases. So yeah, the the pricing depends on the pricing model, but primarily it's the pay per event where you're paying per, let's say, tool call, or you're in the case of, let's say, for Google Maps, for example. If I go through here, I don't have a run right now, but I can probably do some quick run. I think, yeah, let me show you how exactly that would work. So, for example, let's just keep it simple. I want to extract 10 places. I want to add on some 10, let's say, 10 possible leads from those places, right? Let's say I don't really care about the job department. Obviously, like, if you want reviews, if you want images, and this is, I think, a good let's say, use case for how the paper event really allows you to customize your cost, because you can say, okay, I don't want reviews,
Mm.
right? That makes it cheaper. I don't want images, which makes it even more cheap, right? And then you run it, right? And then there's a log. All the information regarding the actor run itself is over here, right? And this is, I think, a big part of why the value for Apify is people love the fact that you have this log that has very granular details about the run. So, for example, here we're running this. Here I can see that there is 10 places that were outputted. In the lead enrichment, I can see, okay, it couldn't find that many leads, right? It's still probably like you need to kind of expand the number of companies that you're looking for. But in this case, I can see, for example, that it costs 7 cents, and then based on that, you can customize the run, customize the different input schema to either lower it based on the use case that you have.
And often something that happens, especially with developers and those who are technical savvy, is they'll say, "Oh, I'm looking here, Sameh, and I see this is the Google Maps that you're scraping. I cannot scrape that. So why would I need to go through Apify and go through all these if I theoretically could build it myself?" What would you say to those who feel that it's easy to just build it on their own?
Yeah. So 2 points. First point is, in many cases, you don't actually know the value of what you're scraping until you scrape it. So
Mm,
building it on your own is actually a lot of risk, because you could be spending, or you think that it's gonna be, a small role, that it's gonna take, a few hours. But anybody who's actually done any scrapers knows that it's a lot more complex. The reason for that, of course, is that every website has different mechanisms, right? So you have cookie blockers, you have honeypots, you have server issues. So scraping is actually much more complicated than people think, especially these days, right? There's complex captchas, there's complex, and every day it comes out anti-bot technology. So what you think, like, let's say, okay, I tested out. I did a smoke test. I managed to scrape. Actually, when you go to production, it's a lot harder than you would imagine. So I think Apify has this back end infrastructure to actually run these scrapes at production level, right? So we've been dealing with these types of issues for the last 12 years. And as a developer, you start to think, okay, I can do this on my own. But actually, when you actually do calculate it, uh, from a cost wise perspective, from time, from cost, from opportunity cost, it's actually a lot more efficient to use these pre-built scrapers, that are tested, that are maintained, and of course that have the backend infrastructure that you need to do these kind of roles. The other thing is like breakage, right? It's very common that a lot of these websites will change their structures, their schemas, then you have to maintain them. This is another kind of key point here, right? Because if you have a service that actually is dynamic, that changes every time there is a change in the on the I mean, a good example of this is Google search, right? They removed the enum thing a few weeks ago. So if you were building, let's say, a SERP service by yourself, you would have to change all that. That would break all of your workflows or AI agents that were using that service. So it's really it's I would never advise anybody to do it on their own. Obviously, for ad hoc jobs you can. If you're if you're looking for like ad hoc scrape, probably it would take you like you do it once and that's it. Okay, maybe that makes sense. But if you're really going to be running this onto workflows, into production systems, yeah, based on my kind of experience, I've seen this become a nightmare.
yes, I agree. And for example, I can report that I've tried the scrape here, x.com or also Reddit, and it's quite hard in that they have a lot of some mechanisms to detect if this is actually like a bot or a human. And I try all type of like tricks and so techniques, and of course I ask ChatGPT how I can do this, etc. But it's very complicated. And when I go to Apify the directory and I just type there like Reddit or X, I see many options so for multiple
Yeah.
others. And then here, how do I know which one I should take? Because they might look similar. If I just put like here Reddit, I think that now I see for Reddit. And so how many are there? So here
Yeah.
easily 300, almost basically 300 actors. How do I decide which one? So should I use which one is good, which one is working?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how do you choose the hotel, right? It's from peer reviews. So obviously, I would always recommend for people to go for the ones that are rated well and have the highest usage. So personally, for me, if I was doing X, I would use API Dojo's tweet scraper. Personally, I've used it in the past, but that's kind of I think the best way to do it, right? And you can test it. You can test it with the MCP, for example. So in this case, I will, let's say, let's go ahead and test this scraper, see how fast it can. Um, so this is the scraper from AI API Dojo. I created this. Let me just remove Kiwi here, um, and I'm just gonna go and copy that. You can see here, by the way, the Gentic role that we had, it disconnected, but it went back again, and it got some very interesting data. But I think it's not your. Is this you guys? Probably not. Yeah, sometimes it's good to actually share
E-
the link with.
Exactly. So here's a person called Christina Gentica. So it's very similar name. Basically, it's not Gentic or Gentica. And this is again like a challenge, right? With so generative AI and in general, so all type of crawling
Yeah,
and scraping agents that, yeah. So the results might be a bit brittle, and one needs to be very precise.
yeah. So here in this case, let me take this tweet scraper that we chose, and again we can add the URL here, right? uh it's a great way to quickly check the quality. um okay, maybe I will find your actual Gentic. You guys must be big on Twitter, right? Okay. It's Gentic AI, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, let me show you something. I want to find the best 10 tweets from, and then add slide speak MCP to create a presentation. So we're gonna find the best tweets that you guys have, and I'm gonna create a presentation using MCP. There's another MCP server. It's called Slide Speak. So basically, it actually creates automated presentations, and I know people are using it for, let's say, for example, if you're an ad agency and you need to prospect for new clients, you can, put it inside. Okay. Oh, okay. AWS Generative AI Accelerated. So you guys were selected as the first. You're Irish, yeah?
Well, Gentic's based in Dublin. That's correct. Yes.
Yes.
So exactly. So here this exactly. So here you're looking at the results that look correct. So yes, that looks
Yeah.
accurate.
Okay, great. So let's create a presentation on these tweets. So yeah, I mean, you could see this particular tool is quite fast. It managed to finish, and the good thing about Apify, of course, that if you ever wanted to know what the actual backend looked like, so this was the 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 Gentic scrape that we just did. You can click here on the results, download the results. Also, look through the log or the input, and what was the actual, let's say, base of the results that I chose. And over here, let's see. Okay, so now it wants to create a presentation outline. Please add the MCP server and do it here. Okay. So always okay. So now it's fetching the actor itself. All right. So actually, this is a good kind of description of why I think MCP works well, because you can see the LLM is directly connected to the server. So originally, like when you have different tools and API calls, you would have to do this kind of like manually. But with MCP, it's just kind of correcting itself, right?
Yes.
So now it gave it the right input, and it's calling the slide speak MCP. So if you go back here, actually, you should see it here. Now it's calling the server, right, which is basically an MCP server that generates presentations. And yeah, I think it'll take a few seconds, but it should work. So it's basically creating the slides and generating this the concise version. Okay, so sometimes when you're using, let's say the tester client, there are kind of limitations on the context window. So now it said, okay, I think it's timing out. Let me create a smaller presentation, probably because it was sending. Oh, okay, let me see here.
Yes, I see how something important so here for everyone who's watching is how ultimately MCP is still very brittle in that we're seeing here all these timeouts and network errors. Of course, we saw how there were mistakes in if you just put a name but we're not super precise, then it might use another account, another URL, etc. So here, for those who believe that MCP is the only way to do things, well, maybe at some point in the future, but at the moment, that's not the case, right? So it's still many
Yeah,
things that need to happen.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not right now. Obviously, it's still new, right? So I think it's 9 months. A lot of the issues that we're having right now with MCP is really about like latency, right? You can see a perfect example. Okay, so sorry, it timed out again. Um, but anyway, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, sometimes, usually it works. There could be something with the network today or whatever. But usually this would work. Here, of course, it also gives you kind of the price or how much it would cost you to actually create this using the MCP server. I think actually one thing that I saw that it did is that we didn't add the tool, right? So that was the other issue. So for example, um, because you remember when we went to mcp.apify.com, we didn't actually add the tool itself. I think that would have actually solved this, because it's trying to use a non-native way to do it, right? So for example,
Yes,
yeah.
and here I wanted to ask something. So besides, for example, this one here that we saw with NA10 and how we could book tickets with Kiwi, what are things that people in the Apify community are building? What are the most common use cases? Which exciting prototypes, demos have you seen around?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say, like, some of the top use cases would be lead generation, obviously, right? So when we think about how Clay grew, a lot of people are doing lead gen and enrichment for for different businesses. The Google Maps was a good example, but there's a lot of lead gen tools that are quite good here on Apify. I would always recommend to go to the store and go to the different. So for example, if you go to the store here, you can find the lead gen tab, and you'll find some great tools. This one here is great. I personally use it too. Microworld's generator tool is also great. So lead gen is a big one. Social media scraping is huge, right? So we're talking about sentiment analysis sometimes. So think about agencies that are delivering reports to their clients. Some of it, of course, is marketing departments delivering like weekly reports on sentiments and the sentiments of their competitors. Another one is competitive insights. and this is very varied. Like it could be everything between getting for example, what ads are my competitors running on Google Ads, right? So if you go to the Apify store and you put Google Ads, you'll find one scraper here that actually scrapes the Google library, for example, right? So if you're looking for, what are the competitive ads that are running in my segment and in my geography, so that's a large use case. Another quite big one is LLM tools and RAG, right? So RAG is retrieval augmented generation. So basically it's really about for example, bringing in scrape data from websites into your LLM tool. Some companies actually will scrape their own knowledge bases, for example, because it's much easier than trying to load the knowledge base dynamically inside let's say a Kubernetes database. So the point here being is, these knowledge bases, they change a lot, and the best way to bring that knowledge back into the LLM is to actually rescrape it based on like a cron job or a scheduler, for example. So RAG pipelines are quite a large use case. And what we're seeing is a lot of companies adopting the enterprise chatbot model, right? So people are very used to talking to Chat GPT, and they do it on their personal level. Now they want to do it at work. So it's companies no longer, like nobody wants to go through, let's say, a knowledge base and try to find procurement or HR information anymore. They want to go directly into a chatbot, ask it for the knowledge that they need, and they expect that
Mm.
chatbot to have the latest data. So a lot of that is being done through, for example, a tool that we have called the website content crawler, which is actually one of our top tool. It's our top actor right now, and the reason for that, it's obviously very fungible. You can use it to scrape any website. You can also super customize the things that you can do with it. And so a lot of companies would use this to create enterprise chatbots. For example, Intercom, I'm sure you've heard of them. Their
Yes.
agent Finn is powered by the website content crawler. So Finn runs the website content crawler every few hours based on a scheduling or a cron job, and it extracts different. For example, for Intercom might have a customer. That customer has a website. That website is changing, and the chatbot that is serving those customers of that website need to have the latest data about what changes are being done. So that's, the Intercom example is a great example of how companies are using website content crawler to ensure that their chatbots have the latest information.
Mhm, mhm. That example on, so here, lead generation similar to Clay, I found it very intriguing in that I can imagine how I saw that there is also scrapers for LinkedIn on Apify, and I can see how this can be used for doing all type of, let's say, like Clay-like, so similar workflows in order to collect, so here, leads for B2B. Uh, and here, so thinking also about the cost and the budget, where it looks very affordable. Of course, we need to do many API calls and so on. So what would you say like a budget that we need to think? For example, if I think, okay, I want to do here for some social media scraping, right? So they'll say that classic example is I want to understand my space. So here I want to understand the AI space, and instead of me browsing through, let's say, Twitter, I instead look into so here influencers on Twitter and also on LinkedIn and other social networks. I'll be doing this daily, maybe a few hundred tweets every day, and also post in other platforms in order to, for example, get digest and summaries. What we hear, like some approximation of the cost that I can account, is it something that I can set a budget of $50 and it's enough, or $500 or 5,000?
Yeah.
What's here like the ballpark figures?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great question. Actually, what I we did this with Zapier social media. I think it's yeah, because automated social scraping is a big use case, um, and for me, like for from a cost perspective, right? What I would say is that it's always good to plan and test, right? So really, it's about choosing your use case carefully, right? For example, that's determining also like what actors you're going to be using, which channels that you actually need. And for this case, of course, you can use the MCP server to actually start testing the different tools based on the use case that you have. Then when you do those tests, right, then you say, okay, for example, if I need to scrape 50 tweets from let's say from Twitter using the X API Dojo, or if I go with Instagram scraper and I need 100 posts or stories or whatever, you start doing these tests, right? And then of course, when you do scale up with Apify, it's a lot cheaper. So for example, you when you were asking me about the pricing, the actual pricing model is also that the more you scrape, the cheaper it is. So
Hmm.
if you go to the Instagram scraper, for example, you can see here there's something called the tiers, right? And so basically, the more scraping that you're doing with us, the bigger discount that you get, right? So for business, it's 44%, and obviously for like larger production scrapes, it's going to be even a bigger discount for you. So take do the use case, do the planning of what you need to do, create the server, test it out, see actually how much in the back end it will cost you, right? So you're actually looking at, for example, this thing that we did with the MCP server. Okay, it's 395 results. It's costing me 90 cents. Okay, now what I will do is, based on that, here are my actual needs. I need like 10,000 posts from Instagram. Okay, and here are the kind of the discounts that I will get, because I will probably, if when you're talking about scaling up, obviously you're going to a different tier, right? So you can count on like 44% if you're, let's say, on the business tier, and then a much kind of a bigger discount once you go on platinum and diamond. Obviously, I cannot specify the exact discount to you, but it's basically, like you can talk to our sales team, and I'm sure that we can work out something with anybody on a plan that makes sense to them, that's also profitable for their business.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yes, now I'm so excited about these ideas because I can see how one can connect Apify with the NA10 and then create so many workflows. And yeah, it also looks very, very affordable. So where as a single developer, but also a small team, I can do that so many things together. And the other thing that also here comes to mind is like the name of our talk, which is the AI cluster. So what's the AI cluster at Apify? So is it just a set of tools? Is it some specific product? Is it some initiative? What's the AI cluster?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, look, obviously people use a lot of our actors for AI agents, and Apify specifically, because of the, let's say, the wide spectrum of different actors there are. So there are, for example, social media actors that we talked about. There is a Google cluster which deals mainly with Google Maps and Google Search. We have the travel cluster. We have the e-commerce cluster. And so the AI cluster really primarily looks at agents and MCP servers, right? So it's a vertical at Apify. It's because we understand that our ICP is really different, right? Because when you're talking about kind of like these hundreds or thousands of use cases, um, from a product marketing perspective, each of these verticals has different audience, they have a different use case, they have a different ICP sometimes. So really the AI cluster is primarily focused on agents, MCP servers, and of course RAG enabled crawlers, right, which is like the website content crawler which we talked about, because it's primarily obviously based on feeding LLM tools. So that's kind of a simplification of what the AI cluster at Apify does. Um, it's because of the fungibility of the actual store itself, the 7,000 tools. So there needed to be kind of verticals, and from a product and product management perspective, that's how it's divided.
Mhm. And 7,000 is also like very daunting. So how where do I get started? So what would you say here, like starting point? Is there like a ranking of popularity? Is there something that you say, hey, this is like the easiest one to work with, or all of them are equally easy? Doesn't matter which one I use.
Yeah. Yeah, well, obviously, like I said, it's about determining your use case, what you want to do first, and then after you find you create a similar plan like this. You can go to the store, for example, and as we said, if we're looking for Instagram, choose the one that has the most reviews, the most positive reviews. So I know this Instagram scraper here is built by us, so you can see this is, for example, maintained by Apify over here. It has 144,000 users with 4.6 rating. So obviously, it's going to be a very powerful, very maintained, very fast scraper. So that's kind of like where the starting point would be, is choose scrapers that have a lot of peer reviews. But obviously, there's a lot of like niche scrapers, right? Like websites that don't have this many scrapers, but are like very kind of laser focused on a specific use case. So yeah, I think peer reviews are a great way. See the number of users. If it's maintained by Apify, you know that there is a dev team behind it working on it. um, and yeah, of course, the rating. Obviously, we have a review system. You can find
Mm.
what are some of the pluses and minuses, what are people saying about it. You can, like anything, like a Google reviews or whatever, you can see the reviews about each individual actor.
Yes, and that's also something I was thinking about in that. Uh, so there are these first parties that are, in this case, Apify, maintained by Apify, but also I see so many others of so here
Yeah.
integrations of so here scrapers. And how is it, for example, if I think about Instagram, they change all the time, like so that they don't want to make it easy for people to scrape, right? So they're changing here their DOM, they're adding here new rules, etc., such that it's not super straightforward to scrape. And do you do any type of so here quality assurance, or do you check if those scrapers that are on the store, they're functioning? Or is there a risk, for example, that I take one of them, and then let's say if months later the person stop maintaining them and stop working? And if that's the case, would you suggest to first go for the Apify ones that are maintained, or you're all the time checking and you have some quality assurance and therefore it doesn't matter?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I would advise people to go for the ones that are maintained by us. We do have automated systems checkers that, if there are a lot of errors in the runs for the actor, we will automatically deprecate that actor, or at least unlist it. Tell the developer, okay, we've deprecated the actor for now until the errors actually get minimized. But again, it's very hard to control when you have 7,000 or 8,000 actors.
Yes, it's a lot.
So yeah, I mean, definitely, I would recommend to go for the maintained ones. Also, from the community, there's a lot of great actors, right? You can tell by the reviews that an actor has, or the number of users that they have. I mean, that this one was a great example. This is by the community. It's a great actor, right? 26,000 users. Thinking of some other actors that are, for example, let me show you here. Let me go by the community. Now you can see it's 8,285. Uh, so yeah, I mean, Leads Finder, again, like I said, 4.9. You can't really go wrong. It's a new actor by Code Pioneer, but it functions really well. So you can find a lot of great actors, and I would say like the ones that are with a large user base and are well maintained with a high score are usually really good. um, Again, if you're maybe just kind of as an insertion point here, we're actually running the Apify $1 million challenge. I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
No, what's that? Tell us more, please.
Yeah. It's like I'm shilling for the challenge, but basically
Yes.
we're giving away over $1 million in rewards for the community, and for um, you know different actors and use cases. And basically, what we're looking for is high quality actors that will have, obviously a lot of good reviews, uh, good amount of runs, that get a lot of adoption. So anybody's open to join the challenge. You can just go to this apify.com/challenge, join the challenge here. There are a lot of materials that people can use on Apify docs to learn how to actually build actors. Or if you're actually using Cursor or whatever, there is an agent MD file that you can actually use inside Cursor that allows you to actually build actors. And building actors is quite simple when you're using, like, let's say, IDE tool like Cursor or Claude Code. So we're seeing a lot of adoption. Actually, I think we've had
Mm.
already, we launched it last week. We've had like 400 new actors that have been developed so far, and the number is, of course, increasing exponentially. So yeah, I would encourage people, if they're interested, to go to the challenge landing page, and go to the docs if they need to learn more. But obviously, one quick way is to kind of take the agent MD file that's on GitHub. I think it's actually, like, for example, let me show you here. I'm just gonna open my cursor just to show maybe how you can do that. Yeah. So for example, here on cursor, I have cursor settings, and I have here indexing and docs. And yeah, I've used this is the actual MD file that I'm using, which is basically here. They can just add it to their cursor, right?
Yeah.
And it guides Cursor on how to build the Apify actor, and you can use Apify CLI to do it.
Mhm. So this 1 million challenge is for one winner? Is it for like a team, for multiple teams? How will it be distributed? And if I want to get started, then I go and check out the documentation. Do I have to register for that? Is there a deadline? So what are here the mechanics?
Yeah. It's a great question. So actually, it's till the end of January, and
Mm.
the million is, of course, the sum of all the prizes that we're giving away. Um, but specifically, if you go to the actual challenge page,
Nah, yes, now here the web page.
yeah, you can actually go and see the mechanics of the prize pools. Um,
Yes.
so there is obviously the grand prizes. There are the weekly prizes over the next 3 months, and then, of course, there are the incremental prizes that we're giving away.
Mm. So here the goal is, as I read, they do things that ultimately lead to more active users. So if I do an actor that is very popular and gets tons of active users, then I'll get a lot of money from that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's $2 for each monthly active user. So the
Mm.
point here is to encourage people to build actors that that really have the use case. That's why I always encourage people to spend time before doing anything. Really, is to look for to pre-plan the use case, to do some market research. One thing you can actually do is go to the Apify ideas. Actor and integration ideas. Here you'll find a lot of ideas that were shared by the community. Maybe you can build some actors or MCP servers based on some of these ideas. So that's also a great starting point.
Mhm. And if I get stuck or I have questions or I just need some help, where can I get it? Is there like a forum, a community, some, I don't know, WhatsApp groups?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the best channel would be Discord. So if you go to the Apify Discord channel, you can find it. Sorry, that's the scraper.
There is so much that Apify offers that it becomes confusing.
Yeah.
What is an actor? What's a scraper? What's actual Discord?
Yeah. Sorry, we have a Discord channel, and a lot of the community actually is there. It's here. This is the official Discord channel. So I would, can share this link with you. Maybe you can give it as a resource, or maybe here I will just add it on our chat.
Yes, please share it
So
here in
this
the
one,
chat.
that's a great resource if you want help from the community. Obviously, help at apify.com or help Apify is also, we have a great support team that can help here. There's a lot of questions that are here, but you can also, for example, uh, actually one thing that's quite efficient too for me is simply going to the actor and opening a ticket on the actor itself, because our developers are really active. So if you open a ticket, somebody will answer usually. So for example,
Wow.
yeah, there is obviously in the menu here, you can get help from here. If it's about a particular actor or something, you can always open a ticket here, create a new issue, and usually you will get respond pretty close. I mean, you can see here, this is not even us, but there's most of the issues are closed, and each actor has different um, issues, and the developers are very proactive in closing issues.
Wow, great with that. So really, it's very encouraging that we still have pretty much like 3 months to identify use cases. That will be like the first step. Identify good use cases that can lead to usage. Then create our actors and have it on store. If we have any questions, then we can have them answered on the Discord community, and then make money from that, right? And also help people. So here work with their so getting information in a structured manner, in an easy manner, and also plug it in their own AI pipelines.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, if anybody has additional questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or or you can reach out to the Apify team anywhere on Twitter or LinkedIn or anywhere else.
Yes, and that's a really good way to wrap it up, Sameh. So where can people find you if they have any questions, if they want to inquire more about here Apify or the challenge or something else?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. So if anyone messages me there, I'm I usually answer. Usually, if I'm not traveling, of course. But feel free also to message anybody from Apify. Um, I'm actually a part of the AI team. So right now I am the AI advocate. But also, for example, the AI team, there is a new product marketing. Lukasz Becker is also great. You can message him, or you can message any of our engineers, and maybe I can leave those names with you, and as part of the kind of post post webinar follow up.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense, and I encourage everyone to reach out to you or so here others in the team. For myself, I will start looking into how I can use exactly these scrapers for B2B lead generation. I have now so many ideas, and thanks so much here, Sameh, for giving this very detailed tour, because otherwise I wouldn't have come up with those ideas. So I hope that will also be helpful and relevant for others. And thank you so much for joining, Sameh.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Rod, and thanks a lot for doing this.
Great. Well, so good that anyone could join here. And as you know, every week we are conducting live streams with builders and also experts such as Sameh, so that we can continue building great AI products, agents, and so much more. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, next week.
Bye.
Bye.